Hi, everyone. Welcome to session 2. In this session, we're learning from leaders and we're taking a dive into the resources available to help you and me level up our skills. So kind of a reminder about words. We use different words in public involvement, public engagement, co-production, and sometimes it's not all that clear. So it's more because there's differences between cultures and between organizations. So the important thing is not the term that's used, but rather what are the speakers saying, what are they sharing, and what are you sharing back? And in that way, we don't get caught up on whether it's engagement or involvement, but we get the best from everything that we have. And the steering committee has especially chosen these speakers today, your invited speakers, to talk about the different free resources that their organizations have available to offer our patient partners build skills related to research. And we encourage people to read about our speakers online rather than take up time in introductions. And today, just so you have some idea of the way we're going to have Maria and Rebecca from UPatty speak first. Then everyone will have 12 minutes. Christine will be the second section, and Linda and Trudy will bring on the third section. And all the way through, if you're chatting with each other, use the chat. If you have questions that you wish to ask our speaker specifically, because we're going to leave room at the end, please be sure to leave those questions at the end, and I will be kind of hosting them with you. And we want all the speakers to have the opportunity to answer questions. So please share your questions widely. And we're really excited to have you here with us. So let's get started. And Maria and Rebecca from UPatty, welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Maria, and I'm going to first start sharing information about the European Patients Academy and educational materials and resources that can empower patients to be partners in research. Next slide, please. Everything started with this patient engagement roadmap. 11 years ago, UPatty was established as an initiative to enhance patient involvement in research. It was understood that patients with their lived experiences can meaningfully contribute to the work of researchers and within the entire development process of medicines. And this includes setting research priorities, running clinical trials, all the way to the regulatory and health technology assessment. And this roadmap is available from our website. And I wanted to show it to you as all of our materials and resources are based on this particular roadmap and the different endpoints that have been identified for that patient involvement or patient engagement to happen at these different endpoints. Next slide, please. And so we also identified a need for capacity building. In order for this patient involvement to be effective, educational materials, resources, and training programs need to be in place in order for patients to build that capacity to understand the full medicines R&D process and to, in that way, be equal partners to the researchers, regulators, and HTA bodies. Next slide, please. So UPatty was established as part of the European Commission's initiative, IMI, Innovative Medicines Initiative, in 2012. And this was part of this greater push for really have patients involved in the medicines R&D. And we understood that this funding was made available because there was this thinking that if education is put in place, the results, the end results will be powerful. And European Commission has funded EUPATI throughout our existence, but now we are functioning as a non-profit organization based in the Netherlands, and we function as a multi-stakeholder public-private partnership. Next slide, please. And while we are established in Europe, and you can see the European stars in our logo, we are going global and reaching out globally now through our programs. And these are our 43 partners. As today we are, as mentioned, a multi-stakeholder partnership and have patient organizations, academic organizations, and industry with us on this journey. Next slide, please. So now digging into some of the resources that are available from EUPATI. First, we have a EUPATI online toolbox, which is an open source searchable toolbox on different resources related to medicines R&D. It is today used by 6.5 million people worldwide. It is available in 14 languages. The materials have been co-designed and co-created by patients and by experts from the different fields, and have gone through very rigorous review process by multi-stakeholder editorial board. And in this way, we provide reliable, objective, and user-friendly materials which are written in lay language. The materials are non-disease specific and can be applied to any disease area. We also have a very useful glossary, and this is also one of the mostly widely used resources. Next slide, please. And then the toolbox is not organized as a training program, but then we have something called EUPATI Open Classroom, which organizes all of these materials and more as a training program. And this can be accessed for free, also from anywhere in the world. It is currently available in English, but we are planning to translate it as well. It takes the learner through the entire process, and there is self-assessment as an option as well, so that people can get the certificates for their learning. And there are different ways to go through this, either choose individual modules, individual training, smaller training units called courses, or the entire program. And I wanted to also say that we have recently added medical devices and digital health into this program as well. Next slide, please. And this was just to remind you of those different pathways that you can choose for learning. And we have also very active EUPATI Fellow program. And I wanted to show you on the next slide that those who complete the full program, as we will very soon hear, are called EUPATI Fellows. And these individuals are the kind of patient experts or expert patients who have this certificate from EUPATI that certifies their knowledge on the entire process. And it is really expert level knowledge. And these expert patients are recognized, at least here in Europe, as EUPATI Fellows, and they are really highly sought after experts. And often also active in their patient organizations in the leadership positions. We are active in many other, we do have other activities as well, but today I have limited time, so I'm just going to mention two of them. One is EUPATI Connect, where we on this platform connect researchers with the trained patients. And this is a new platform, so we are still piloting it, but there seems to be a lot of interest for this type of matchmaking, where researchers are looking for trained patients from different areas with different skill sets to be part of, for example, protocol review, focus groups, speaking opportunities, and so forth. The The last other activity I wanted to mention are our national platforms in now 24 countries. We have gone beyond the European borders now with the Japanese Yupati, but this is something that's constantly developing. It is often the trained Yupati fellows who decide to then establish a national Yupati platform, and these platforms are active in their national context, providing that patient education and workshops and so on, using the Yupati materials but tailored into their national context. Now I would like to invite, these are just some statistics. I would like to invite Rebecca, who has gone through our training, to share her personal learning journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, my name is Rebecca, as Maria has stated, and for the purpose of today, I am a Yupati Fellow that did the course from September 2017 to December 2018. Now, I feel very privileged to have been asked to come here. So I thought I'd start by giving just a little bit of background. Next slide, thank you. So who am I? In this instance, I'm a Yupati Fellow and I was registered on cohort 3. I'm originally from Zambia and I live in London in the UK. I was 49 at the time of doing the course, and that gives away my age. And I was also working for an HIV charity. I currently work as a research assistant with Queen Mary University in London. I hold a degree in psychology and an MBA in healthcare. And I think the most important thing to state here is that I have lived experience of HIV of 27 years. Next slide, please. It's relevant to state my lived experience, I guess, because that is the motivation that drove me to do this particular course. I remember at the time, one of the main things was there was a lot of talk about switching to generic medication, and it caused a lot of chaos within our industry, within the HIV sector. People thought maybe it was substandard and a whole range of things. So, you know, that motivated me even more to want to find out how, or understand how medicine works, how it's developed, and all of those things. And of course, you know, working within the HIV sector, my drive was to support others, to be able to understand. I was working in a peer support capacity, so it was very important for me to be able to understand all of this background. And it was part of the ongoing personal and professional development. And of course, it was free. So, you know, having been told about this course by a colleague who was working for, who was engaged with the European AIDS treatment group, I thought, right, this is a really great course. So I did the application, which was online. I had a virtual interview. And of course, they notified me of the acceptance. There were loads of people that applied. But at the time it was explained, I think the idea was to try and get as many people from different disease group areas and from as wide a platform as possible. So yeah, we had quite, you know, it was quite stiff competition. So I was very excited to have been part of the course. And of course, then after that, we were told about the course information, which Maria has very clearly articulated. And I can testify that that's exactly how it is. It's been modified quite a lot, I can see. So you know, that would be good to do. But you go through the whole process, you know, overview of health and disease and history of medicine, how these are taken, the efficacy, the production, and, you know, all the legal processes. So it was very enlightening to be able to engage in that. There are ongoing assessments and 2 face-to-face learning, at least when we were doing it. And then you also get assigned, you know, a personal course advisor, which was really helpful. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a bit about, you know, what my challenges are. And personally, for me, it was motivation and focus. So I'm one that is very classroom-based learning kind of person, and I found it really difficult to focus, particularly in the middle of having to run a family and, you know, just maintain and do your work on a day-to-day basis, being able to come back and think, I've got to do the course. That was really helpful because I had someone that would constantly prod you and remind you and send you little reminders and actually ask after you in terms of what the challenges are, and you could discuss them and see a way around them. So that was really, really helpful. For me, the other thing was trying to get a visa sorted. I don't have a British passport as it yet, so getting the visa process was somewhat a little challenging, but that was dealt with in good time. So I'm going to talk about the impact very quickly before, and I like to end on the rewards. So the impact is from doing this particular course, there was lots of personal and professional growth, obviously. I acquired more knowledge around medicine development, the research and development side of things. It very much, gave me a lot of confidence to speak, to ask questions, to just explore a bit more about my health condition and how medication impacted that. And the ripple effect was, obviously I was able to take that knowledge to my community because I was able to share what I'd learned, but in a simple and easy to learn way kind of thing. And I still use it in my application. I mean, in my current work, for example, during COVID, when there was a big hoo-ha about what works, what doesn't work, it was very helpful to be able to understand the background in terms of, research and development around treatment. The rewards.
So much, Rebecca.
Sorry?
Thank you so much. This is awesome, but we're out of time.
So I apologize. So I'll just.
No, it's no problem. We just have to keep to our time. But if there's other things you want to share, please share them in chat, and people will go back and forth with you. And any questions that you wish we'd asked or you wished you could cover, please put those in the Q&A, okay?
No problem.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your presentation. Now we have Christine Broderick from PCORI, who will share about PCORI and the resources. And Christine, we would love to welcome you to our PxP session today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm so delighted to be here, and a tough act to follow. Thank you so much to my colleague presenters and Rebecca, who shared her story. Next slide, please. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Christine Broderick. I'm a Senior Engagement Officer at the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, PCORI for short, in the US. I will start by sharing just a little bit about PCORI, how we do our work, our approach to engagement in research, we call it engagement, and highlight a few resources that we hope will be helpful for patients and for other partners who are engaged in research, as well as research teams who are looking to do more impactful research. I know many of you are already familiar with PCORI, so I won't linger too long on the background, but I'm hoping that there will be something for everybody today. So PCORI is an independent nonprofit research organization. We were created by the Affordable Care Act in the US, the health reform law, and reauthorized a couple years ago. We fund comparative clinical effectiveness research, or CER, which compares two or more medical treatments, services, or health practices. Most of the research that PCORI funds is for CER studies, comparative effectiveness research studies, but we also fund awards to build capacity for engagement in research, called engagement awards, Eugene Washington Engagement Awards. And we also fund dissemination and implementation projects, methodology research, and the development of research infrastructure. Next slide, please. Oh, you know what? Can we go back one? I think I jumped my... I jumped ahead a little bit. So I'll say a couple more words about what makes PCORI unique. We aim to produce evidence that can easily be applied in practice in real world settings. And we focus on answering questions that are most important to patients and those who care for them. We believe patients deserve to know whether some approaches work better than others for certain populations, and caregivers, clinicians, and others in the healthcare system also benefit from better information about different care options. Research funded by PCORI focuses on healthcare conditions and challenges that families face every day, including those related to cancer, diabetes, maternal morbidity and mortality, opioid use, mental health, equitable access to care, and many others. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, we'll go. Well, actually, this is good. Engagement in research is one of the key pillars on which PCORI operates, and it's really an essential piece of what makes us unique. Engagement is integral to our work and the work of others that we fund and support. In the research that we fund, PCORI requires engagement of patients and other partners throughout the research process. The slide that I think we were just on, sorry, thank you, that's perfect. This gives you an overall picture of our vision for engagement and research and what it looks like. And then you can see examples of the types of partners who are involved in the research and the projects that we fund here on the bottom. Next slide, please. PCORI views patients and other collaborators as equitable partners in research. We believe that engagement of a diverse set of partners in all areas of research leads to results that are more meaningful and useful for patients and for the broader healthcare community. Next slide, please. Patients and other partners, other stakeholders from across the entire healthcare enterprise are really foundational to PCORI's work, and they are actively and meaningfully involved in the entire research process, from the development of research priorities all the way through to the dissemination and uptake of research findings. And this slide is just meant to show you the breadth and depth of engagement in all of the work that PCORI does as an organization. Next slide, please. Before I move on to our resources, which I will do in a moment, I wanted to just briefly ground us in what we've learned about engagement from our funded research portfolio, the studies and the projects that we fund, and all of the work that we've done over the years. We have learned a lot about what engagement looks like and the impact and the influence that it has on research. These learnings come from our analysis of engagement approaches and activities in our funded research studies, plus the practical experience of PCORI's staff. So engagement officers like myself and other staff who are working with study teams to support engagement. And as you know from your experience, I know lots of folks here have experience engaging in research. I know there are some friendly faces that have worked with PCORI as well. Engaging in research can take different forms. It reflects different levels of intensity. And so this continuum is just one way of reflecting what engagement can look like. It can range from providing input, which is more kind of one directional, more time limited, a little more basic, over to deeper collaboration, shared leadership. And we often see study teams doing all of these things at different points in a study or at the same time using different mechanisms. Next slide, please. And we've also seen that engagement impacts research, as I said. And again, this will not surprise any of you, but partners influence the focus of a study, the execution, the materials, the way the study is carried out, how engagement is designed and practiced, and researchers' understanding of the needs of people and organizations. And of course, we see that engagement has benefits for all who are involved, from the research teams to partners and patients, and those who use the results at the end of the day. And I wanted to just quickly highlight those learnings about engagement because they have informed and continue to inform our resources and the way we do our work. So I will talk about those resources next. Thank you. And next slide, please. Perfect. So the first two tools I'm going to highlight were created specifically because we heard from the field, from our funded research teams and from patients and other research partners that these were gap areas. So this first resource, it's a free resource called Research Fundamentals. It is intended to help patients and other partners understand, quote unquote, the language and logic of the research process, and really feel comfortable and confident in contributing lived experience and expertise to research and being a member of those teams. Research Fundamentals covers questions like, how does the research process work? What is patient-centered outcomes research? What are the areas of the research study where I can engage as a partner? How can I be an effective partner on a research study? This is as I said, free. It's on our website. It's a self-directed and self-paced module-based training. So there are 5 modules that you go through. And I'll also share that a group of patients and other partners were involved in the process of developing this training to make sure that it covered the most important elements for partners who are new to research, and otherwise in shaping and refining it. Next slide, please. All right. Oh, and I'll just quickly mention Research Fundamentals is in the process of being translated into Spanish. So hopefully within the next 6 months to a year, we will have that in Spanish as well. This next resource is called Building Effective Multi-Stakeholder Research Teams, which is a mouthful. But this resource it's actually a website. It is linked on our PCORI website. And it was created to support all members of multi-stakeholder research teams in working together effectively. So the website is organized into 2 sections, each of which addresses a key area for success for an effective team. The first area is engaging partners or stakeholders, and the second area is working as a team. Each section includes evidence-based information and resources for team members to learn new concepts and skills. For example, building trust in a new group or working through conflict in constructive ways. You can click around the various pages, but I highly recommend there is a user guide that's linked on the main page that gives you an overview of all of the topics that are covered in the website. Next slide, please. PCORI also has a repository of more than 400 engagement-related tools and resources that have been developed and used by PCORI awardees. So research studies that we have funded or other engagement projects that we funded. This is a searchable peer-to-peer repository that includes resources such as toolkits, facilitation guides, sample compacts or memoranda of understanding for partners and research teams who are working together. There's a lot of great material in this repository, and we're in the process of updating it now. So stay tuned for an even better version soon. Next slide, please. And finally, I'll talk quickly about the PCORI engagement rubric. So the original engagement rubric was developed in 2014, so almost 10 years ago. I know many or most folks here are probably already familiar with it. The goal of the rubric is to promote and support engagement in PCOR CER, to influence research to be more patient-centered and relevant and useful. And it includes concrete examples of what engagement in research can look like, and all the different parts of the research study where it can happen, which we believe is all of them. So the update for this rubric, it's happening right now. It's a pretty major update. It's nearing completion. It really represents a quantum leap forward in building on our knowledge base about engagement. So we're very, very excited about it. There will be a breakout session on the process for updating the rubric at our annual meeting in October. So keep an eye out for that. And I will also share too a broad range of partners, patients, other partners, PCORI staff have been involved in updating the rubric through convenings and other mechanisms. So wanted to highlight that as well. Next slide, please. And that is just a snapshot of the rubric, the current version. So you can see kind of how it lays out some examples throughout the research phases. Next slide, please. And just a little plug for our PCORI annual meeting in October, which is free and hybrid, so you can join virtually. Next slide. All right, and then next slide, please. Just wanted to highlight there are lots of ways to get involved with PCORI. I know there are some PCORI ambassadors on the call on the conference. So wanted to encourage folks to check that out. The PCORI Ambassador Program is a way for you to join with a community of others who are working to advance patient-centered research and engagement. So we'd just encourage folks to check out our website and all the different ways you can get involved. Next slide, please. And I think that is it for my presentation. Next slide, please. And look forward to hearing questions. I think I saw some come up in the chat, so I can answer those in the chat or respond to those later.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was awesome. I think if speakers feel comfortable, please go ahead and start to answer questions in the chat. Raise any other questions that that you would like raised as well. And we really thank you. PCORI's done so much in such a short period of time, and you, Patty, has as well. And it's really encouraging to see where the space is growing for the public. And we'd love to welcome now two members from the CIHR Institute of Musculoskeletal Health and Arthritis, Patient Engagement Research Ambassador Resources. They're going to be sharing those. And so Linda and Trudy, welcome. We look forward to hearing what you have to say, and thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I'm Linda, and as Trudy gets things set up here, I think it's so neat and cool that we went from kind of a European, UK-wide, amazing aspect of what's being done to the American PCORI and all the phenomenal stuff that they've done. And we've come back to Canada now, and two things that are a little bit different. Trudy and I are going to be focusing on something very, very specific. And we're also focusing on something that's not done by a patient organization per se, but it's a granting organization. So I would just like to say that. And while Trudy or others get this, the slides up there, I want to say that I'm attending from Ottawa. And Ottawa is built on the unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. And the peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived in this territory for millennia. And their culture and presence has nurtured and continue to nurture this land. So thank you very much for that. And perfect timing, Trudy. Trudy and I are going to speak about our how-to guide for patient engagement and research, how a whole bunch of patients got together, did this together, and created it together. I've given my land acknowledgement. I am a patient engagement research ambassador. And Trudy, if you would like to introduce yourself, and then we'll carry on too.
Thank you, Linda. I would like to acknowledge that I live on the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This treaty is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, which Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey people first signed with the British Crown in 1726. In Nova Scotia, we are all treaty people, and I am a member of PARA as well.
Thanks, Trudy. So first of all, for those of you that don't live in Canada or haven't been here before, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, we shortened that to CIHR. It's Canada's federal funding agency, and it's for health research across all of our provinces and territories. There's actually 13 different institutes. I'll share those in just a bit, but we collaborate, or CIHR collaborates actually with us as partners, patient partners and researchers to support discoveries, but more specifically also innovations that improve our health and also the health of the system and the health of the population. Next, please. So what are these institutes? They're really quite varied. There's anything from aging to human development for child and youth. There's gender, genetics, and there's ours. I'll let you read the other. Ours is the musculoskeletal health and arthritis, which is near and dear to my heart, and Trudy's because we both suffer from diseases covered by this agency. Please move to the next slide. So MHA is what we affectionately call it, is one of the 13 agencies, and it's really the hub of very interesting strategic initiatives, because when people say musculoskeletal health and arthritis, the word that kind of comes forward is arthritis, but it's so much more than that. It's all initiatives for musculoskeletal health, skin and oral health, which really covers a lot too. And I just want to thank everyone for in CIHR that's come before us, scientific directors before Dr. Karim Khan, who's on this call, who have really, really actively sought to encourage the research and community to partner and incorporate patient engagement in the research process. We're following a trajectory at MHA that really is leading edge within this funding agency federally, and provide the resources and the support to do so. So huge kudos there. Next slide, please. So we've talked about different terms before, and I think actually our opening speaker went over a little bit about what we consider to be a patient. So it's very, very inclusive, and it means more just than a person with a health issue or lived experience, or someone who has gone through aspects related even to clinical trials. We include informal caregivers as well. We include informal caregivers could be something as diverse as someone giving care and taking care of their elderly patients who may suffer from dementia, might be a mom or a dad or a partner taking care of a medically fragile child. So family and friends are really who are defined by the caregivers. And we use patient engagement, but I say that the two key words to me here, meaningful and active. The collaboration has to be both, and it really covers governance from an overview perspective. I sit in the Institute Advisory Board, priority setting, what do we want to research? When are we going to research? How are we going to phase it? Let's conduct research together, from blue skying right through to co-production and co-authorship. And how do we get that out actually into the world where it's meaningful for people like us as patients? So it's really collectively the voice of specific affected communities or others. Next slide, please. So the PIRA, Patient Engagement Research Ambassadors, that's us. It's an evolution of a group that started as research ambassadors 10 years ago. And these are individuals who live with a condition that fall underneath one of CIHR's research mandates in MHA, and or who are advocates for people living with those conditions. So we have community members or family members. PIRA usually has about 10 or so kind of cohorts as the years go by, and we're into the third cohort right now, and Trudy and I are alumni of the second cohort. And we provide the unique lived experience of our personal experiences in life and being patients and what we've gone through so that MHA can meet their goals and priorities. Next slide, please. So if we look at our mandate, and we wrote this up ourselves and kind of, moved it forward, we really seek to inform the Institute in research priorities from our perspective. And we also want to inform our own communities about all the great work that MHA is doing, grants that are coming forward from CIHR, and how our communities can work with PIRA. We have a lot of collaborations that way. We're always seeking to benchmark best practices and bring that into all we do. And we gather and we look at and we research and bring forward, curate quality patient-oriented assets, and we put them on our website. And you see we have blogs, we have articles, we have different podcasts, etc. What's really interesting along the way is that we evaluate. So we use a logic model evaluation to really look at, is what we're doing making a difference in the people that we serve? Move on to the next slide, please. So we as patient partners convened in May 2020, and we were the patient engagement research ambassadors. We had to get to trust each other, know each other, and build up understanding of each other. So through that, we had information sharing. Some people knew a lot about research, some people not so much. We did a lot of capacity building. We wanted to know that everyone was on the same level of knowledge kind of moving forward. And we talked a lot about our patient experiences, our lived experience and our patient engagement experiences. And we said from that, what are the challenges and gaps that we think we need to be solved, and let's solve those ourselves. So we established our main priority, and it was the delivery of something very specific as a deliverable. And we worked intensely hard, meeting monthly over the next 2 years, all patients, led by a patient leader, supported by a scientific director, to develop this universal practical tool for patient engagement. And we launched just almost a year ago a how-to guide for patient engagement and research. And I turn it over to Trudy to very eloquently let us know all the excitement about this. Thanks, Trudy.
Thank you very much, Linda. One thing we want everyone to know is that these modules are not disease specific. It doesn't matter what research is being done or what your condition is. They are usually meant for any situation where patients and researchers connect to do research. These modules were also based on best practice, and gold standard in patient engagement. So module 1 is intended for everyone, and it's a basic introduction to patient engagement and research. So this module covers the what is patient engagement, why do we do it, what are the benefits, and how do we do it. The first module is based on building a foundation before we move on to the research process. The second module has 2 parts, one for patient partners and one for the research team. So the part intended for patient partners covers the role as a patient partner and their involvement with the research team. So this module makes sure that the patient partner understands the research process. We wanted patient partners to be as educated and comfortable as possible with the research process. The part of the module designed for the research team is about supporting patient partners as they go throughout the research process. We wanted to identify what research looks like with patient partners on that team and how researchers can support patient partners around the table. The module also discusses challenges for the research teams that are unfamiliar with patient engagement. Module 3 is intended for everyone on the research team, and it's about setting up a research project for successful partnership. This is what we all want, successful patient engagement in research. The more involved a patient partner is on a research team, the more influence they have on the outcome. So some of the aspects that come up here is what works, what doesn't. When things don't work, what do you do to get the project back on track? So module 4 is again divided into 2 parts. And for the patient partners, you might be asking yourself as you're going through this, how can I do this? Who do I meet with? When do they meet? What are the meeting times? Do they fit into my schedule? What if I'm a patient with a chronic condition like fibromyalgia and I get fatigue? How will that affect my part on the team? How will I receive information? So being on a research team requires a patient partner to understand the practical aspects of being on that team and to identify resources that might be valuable to support you in the projects. For the other members, you need to be able to understand all the questions a patient partner might have, because there is a different tone and flavor to meetings when you have someone on your team with lived experience on the condition that you're researching. So it's up to the researchers to set the tone for the team to make sure everyone's well-being is being listened to and addressed. So who has taken this course? Well, the majority of people are researchers, 366 researchers. And the next group is patient partners, 207, followed by trainees, 169. And then other non-patient partner members of the research, which are 117. Clinicians come in at 83, and there's another group of people that are classified as other, and there's 13 of them. Those would be the research funders, research operators, health charities, etc. So I'm happy to see that it's not just patient partners taking these modules, because we all know it's not just patient partners who need this training. Mostly Canadians are doing the course, but we do have international people as well. So it is encouraging to see that these modules have crossed borders. Patient engagement isn't easy, but it is important. It's important to be able to improve health research, and it's important to turn healthcare into healthcare that really applies to the people who are the consumers of that healthcare. And that has made it worth the effort that PARA has put into these modules. So I will leave you with these resources, and Linda and I would like to thank you for your time and attention today.
Thank you so much. Like our panelists have been first class, and I love the way everything's fitting together. And you may want to, what I do is I take modules from each of the groups, because there's things that I need for different projects. And I have my team members take those modules and share back, and they're amazing. And I love, Trudy, that you actually covered how to get involved. Not like there's just a way to get involved, but this is how you do it. That was awesome. And so I thank you to our panelists. And let's start looking at some of our questions in the questions and answers. And if questions are coming up for you, please feel free to answer them. If you want to see your answered question, the middle link is questions that are answered, and we will also be sharing these later. So one of the questions that is asked is by Sherry is, are the UPATI fellows able to get approved research grants or other sources of funding to support protocols they have developed and want to pursue? And now Maria's actually answered this one so nicely. While the UPATI program certifies the level of knowledge the learner has obtained, it can't guarantee the access to the growth and the funding. So let's start looking at some of the open questions. Stella asks, can our presenters capture the top, hard and soft? In other words, their confidence to the right to take up space, skills they wish every PxP advocate could acquire from training, please. So we'll start with Trudy and Linda for the hard and the soft.
Sure. If I understand the question properly, I'm hearing perhaps hard and soft skills that we would like to see our patient partners that take training from any of us. What would that person, consider to be? So I would say, first of all, soft skills is something I don't like to use the word soft. I actually find soft skills, or what we pertain as soft skills, are harder to get than non-soft skills. So I would like really, the notion and concept of trust, respect, and true listening. What is listening? How do we communicate with each other? How do we get out of tense, weird, or awkward situations? How we can assert our assertiveness in a non-aggressive way and speak up and be a voice that's heard. So those are things, under that, how to be a leader, how to have teamwork and communication, and how to have listening skills. Some of the other skills, I think, is, what is research? What are the different types? And I think my peers from the other countries went over a phenomenal overview of what some of that was. And how do we work together? What type of people are researchers, and what research do they do, and how can I work with them? How can I be a voice in that? So those are just some of the things I'd offer.
Wonderful. And Paula was asking again how to get involved with CHR, but I think that this also involves some of the other teams as well. For example, if someone wanted to become a PCORI ambassador, and if this is limited geographically, or if you take people from all over the world, if UPATI, please, let's open it up. Maybe we'll start with PCORI. Christine, could you share?
Sure. Did you want me to speak specifically to the access? Could you reframe the question? Did you want me to speak to the question about the international?
Yeah, some people were asking, if I'm international, can I still be involved with PCORI? And yes. But lots of other people are also asking, hey, how can we take part? How could we be an ambassador? How could we start on this?
Great. Yes. So we absolutely welcome folks that are not from the U.S. to become PCORI ambassadors. I will give the caveat that PCORI as an organization focuses primarily on the U.S. That's not to say we don't have projects that have international components and international partners, but the primary focus is the U.S. However, I think there is so much shared learning that is happening across all of our different organizations and all of the folks that are participating in this conference here today, these next few days, that I would really encourage anybody who is interested in learning more about PCORI and learning more about the ambassador program to check it out. It's such a wonderful group of folks. And I saw Janice comment in the chats. Janice Tufty is one of our ambassadors. And I think there may be others in the mix too, who can probably tell you a little bit more about it as well, if you're curious about, their experiences. But yes, would very much encourage and welcome that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. fondly keep. It's a great organization as well. And all of the organizations here are really well represented. Linda, I was wondering what would be your top thing that you would want to share that you didn't get a chance to share during your talk?
Me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to share that CIHR MHA and the PIRA Patient Engagement Research Ambassador Group, so many acronyms there. We do so much, and we have created so much deliverables and products in a relatively short period of time. I would like everyone to know that it's an ongoing, continuous, what are we going to be doing next? How are we moving forward? We have a new cohort of PIRA members right now, and I'm continuing to be one because I sit in the board, so I'm kind of a link between the Institute's board and the current cohort. So what are we going to be doing next is really, really exciting. We're looking at different things, and I won't reveal all our secrets. It'll be coming out really, really soon. So I think when I look at what Patty's done and what PCORI's done, my mind is just blown by possibilities of what we can do. And the fact that we're a granting agencies don't usually do this type of work. This is really, really, really a unique partnership. So I think it's just, there's going to be more to come, and the world is our oyster. There's so many possibilities, and I would love to see all 13 institutes be as involved as MHA is. And some of them, I saw that was a question, some of them are certainly getting there, but let's get everyone to the same level of the same kind of patient partnership involvement. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I have a question for Rebecca and then Trudy and Linda on how working on these initiatives or using these resources has personally impacted you and helped you to grow. Like, is there a pivotal moment? Is there like a short experience that you can share? And Rebecca, let's start with you.
Thank you. I think I'll keep mine short. I think it's given us confidence. We've actually written a book. I've co-authored a book.
Wow.
Yes. So, and it's taken from all of these experiences. So I guess that would be, yeah, the main thing at the moment.
Okay. Trudy?
Thank you. I find that since I was involved with PARA, that I've gained a confidence that I did not have before. So I went in just wanting to be involved. I have fibromyalgia. I want to support the fibromyalgia community and get their voice heard at the level of IMHA. But I came out of there with wanting to start a national fibromyalgia association and wanting to get involved in research that's more local to me in the Maritimes here in Canada. And I really have found that I have two passions in life now. One is patient engagement and trying to get the Maritimes more engaged. And the other is promoting fibromyalgia across Canada. And I couldn't have done that without my work at PARA because I didn't have the confidence to do that. So yes, it helped me grow as a person.
Yay for the Maritimes. I lived there for 10 years and both my children were born there. So it's a wonderful place. And I just love that you're moving in this direction. And Linda, what about you?
My big thing is networking. I met Trudy. Trudy and I are both retired nurses there. Met Dawn, met Kareem, the whole team at MHA. But beyond that, the connections I have made go across, the country and go across academia, research groups, hospital groups, etc. So it's just been phenomenal. This person hears of this person who gives your name to this person, and the activities that we can engage in and the tangents that we can go on are just so fulfilling, actually. And I think that's really, besides what everyone else has said, I totally agree, but it's really been, it's very interesting coming from a healthcare background and knowing about professional networking, seeing this, what I call patient networking, and how it's growing.
That's wonderful. And Rebecca has put a note to a link to their book in the chat. So make sure to take a look at that. And let's look at, we've got some more questions here. And Rebecca, there was something that you were wanted to share, and we really appreciate that you brought out your like the personal experience and you made it real to all of us. And is there something that you'd like to share now, because we have about a couple of minutes left? So if there is something that you wished you could have gotten out but you just couldn't, could you share it now, please?
Just very literally to say it was a very good opportunity to engage with friends that I still have and links with. Unfortunately, one of them passed on, and I just wanted to give a shout out to what a great person she was, Carol, and she was there for sickle cell. But yeah, I still keep in touch with the ladies that I met through the U Party and continue to network with. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Maria apparently had her hand up, but I was probably looking at another screen.
Sorry, Maria.
Maria.
No worries. I wanted to share two things actually. UPATI is our soul is European, but we are global. So one of the questions was, am I allowed to study with UPATI if I'm not based in Europe? This is absolutely okay, and we are our open classroom is open to everyone from everywhere in the world. So we are inviting patients and patient communities to access our materials. The other thing I wanted to say, something interesting about the soft skills that also relates to what Linda just mentioned about networking. We see that through our training programs. I think we've heard also from Rebecca, there's a lot of networking that happens, which leads to, I believe, also this enhancing of communication skills, this kind of empowerment, really, the building the confidence to be in this kind of international space, which often then leads to taking on leadership positions and also cross-disease work. So there's a lot of initiatives that are now going on among the UPATI fellows who are all representing different disease areas. And I think that is really a unique skill or experience that we can provide, and that really builds on this kind of soft skill side and this capacity of patient communities as well. So together with the hard science and the more kind of the dry and the boring courses and lessons, we can also provide this platform for networking, learning together, growing together. And I think for me also, lastly, I wanted to mention it's been wonderful to be part of this platform, this conference for the first time. And it also shows that we have allies and like-minded people across the Atlantic. And I'm really happy to now reach out and be part of this group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. So we have a question from Martin, and are there any men involved? I can say from my end, absolutely. But does anyone have anything to add?
No, we always have. I had a little chuckle there because one of our PIRA members, who's an alumni, Alan, is actually one of our participants here today, and he's been very, very actively involved with MHA. You know, it's interesting, diversity and choosing diversity for patient partners that come forward, especially when there's a bit of an application process. We're always trying to make sure that we have younger, older, diversity and gender diversity and different aspects, regions of Canada. So I'll say there's certainly need to improve, but there are males involved. Are they as frequent, I think, as female patient partners? I would suggest, maybe someone knows the statistics, it seems to be certainly more female patient partners that are involved over time. But I see that Maria has many active male UPATI fellows. So, but I think it's certainly something that we can take and kind of divert into other ways of thinking how to bring those people on as well.
Yeah, because we're all working within the cultures that we are. And some of those cultures are just not that diverse. So we might have a heart for diversity, but then it's how can we reach out actually and make that happen? So I really appreciate that response. And Sarah asked an interesting question, and she asked Trudy and Linda specifically, if their nursing background made it easier to get them started as patient partners. And I think that kind of goes for all of our backgrounds, but nursing specifically. Trudy and Linda, what do you say?
I see Linda shaking her head no, but I will actually say that yes, I think it did.
There you go.
I think it was easier for me to get brought on to projects because I was a nurse, because I think there's a misconception that nurses automatically know research language or the research process, and it's not really true. We don't, but we do understand healthcare. So yes, to me, I found it easier.
And I didn't, not that it wasn't easier per se. Being a nurse and having a career of over 35 years in diverse parts of research administration, clinical application, and nursing did not make me want to be a patient partner when I became diagnosed with the diseases that clearly were impacting the way that I live, and actually made me have to quit my PhD and eventually retire. So there's aspects related. It was the frustration, the sheer frustration of the healthcare system as a patient, that I really started looking into what patients can do, advocacy for patients, and it became kind of a segue into patient engagement and research. So so I hear what Trudy's saying completely, but I guess people have different paths, and also people have different ways. I'm a quiet person that didn't really want to share my personal journeys, and now I share my personal journeys because that's how we get to know each other and build trust. So very interesting.
It's actually very beautiful that you can be in that space where one person's background makes a difference and the other person says, well, no, actually not for me, because that's who we are as people. And that's the most important, I think, the most important thing in life is our relationships and how we work together. And on that note, I'd like to thank our amazing presenters for this session. I learned so much. And also for the audience, because you're drawing out the best of us and you're asking great questions, and we love your engagement. Thank you so much for participating with us. On our housekeeping notes, we're going to take a break for 30 minutes and come and then we'll be on for session 3 at 3 o'clock. So take that 30 minutes, turn off your camera, your video, just enjoy, relax, take a walk, and we will see you at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.